Prynawn da, good afternoon. Ar ran RTS Cymru, croeso cynnes i'n sgwrs ni yn fyw ar-lein prynhawn yma. On behalf of RTS Cymru, I'd like to welcome you all to our live online event, broadcasting in Wales, lockdown and beyond. I'm Sian Morgan Lloyd, and I'd firstly like to thank our panel. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi. They are Rhodri, Talfan, Davies, Director, BBC Cymru Wales, Phil Henfrey, Head of News and Programmes, ITV Cymru Wales, and Owen Evans, Chief Executive, S4C. How are we all today, panel? Is Wi-Fi working okay?
Seems to be.
Okay, then. Good. Have you got any kids and pets under control for the next hour?
Got both, but whether they're under control remains to be seen.
Good. Excellent. Well, that's a good start. I can hear you all. So if you're watching live through Zoom, you will be able to participate by submitting your own questions to our panel. If you haven't done so in advance, you can use the chat function on Zoom. I do plan to allow some time towards the end of the hour session to ask some of your questions, so please do submit them. There's also an option for English speakers to hear any Welsh dialogue with simultaneous translation. So to do this, you need to click on the interpretation button you should see at the bottom of your screen. Unfortunately, Zoom isn't as on board with the Welsh language as we are. So you will have to select the option from Korean to English, and you select the English option when you see that come up on your screens. So we're going to test that out now before we start with the questions. Felly, os ydy'r system yn gweithio I chi, dylech chi glywed fy ngeiriau I nawr yn cael eu cyfieithu i'r Saesneg. A gobeithio mae'n gweithio, a diolch yn fawr I Ian Cottrell sydd yn neud y gwaith cyfieithu yma I ni heddi. Okay, well, I for one would like this discussion to look at the future. But if I can start on a more reflective note, could I ask you, Phil, first of all, to give us a feel for what the last 3 months have been like for you and for ITV Wales?
Well, it's been a sort of a mixed sort of period. On the one level, you could sort of say it's probably been one of the hardest stories that we've probably ever had to cover in news and current affairs. And it's probably amongst one of our proudest achievements. And it kind of kept flip-flopping in that sort of area each and every day, each and every hour, actually. You know, when we sort of started out on this now, sort of back at the beginning of March, you could probably sort of see a sort of direction of travel. And you know, when we sort of set out, there were sort of two priorities really. The first one is to keep people safe. You know, very often we're used, as you know, from working with us in current affairs, we are used to sending people to kind of hostile environments. It's a part of what we do, etc., etc. But it's the first time that we've had to do that on scale. You know, in effect, the environment in which all of our journalists, all of our production staff are working suddenly became a hostile environment. So how do we keep people safe within that environment? So that is and remains our overall priority. And I'm really pleased with what we've done there, because I genuinely think we have kept people safe. But that was always going to counterbalance then against also staying on the air. And that was, you know, without question, that was a huge challenge. But I've often sort of said on things like this that ITV Wales' greatest asset is its people. And so they have proved. I mean, their ingenuity, you know, their adaptability meant that we were able to do that. And so I'm very proud that we've managed to then keep a kind of a fully comprehensive news and current affairs service on the air as well. You know, yeah, we've made some sensible changes, but we're on the air from 6 o'clock in the morning in Wales through to 11 o'clock at night, weekdays. You know, our main half an hour programme remains a half-hour programme. We've kept current affairs on the air in the English language in peak time, and current affairs on the air in peak time on S4C as well. And we've probably upscaled the amount of content we create for online. So I think in terms of you know, that when I look back on that, I think that's a huge achievement. And I think it underlines and underscores the value that public service broadcasters bring, particularly in Wales. But to the point of your kind of question, but it's not over. I think there's a real kind of risk as well that we kind of look back on this period and think, oh, well, that's gone, and now we're in some new world. We're not, and I think that's one of the real challenges of this story, is that the way I sort of equate it to my team, you know, two things I would sort of say is that somebody in my team sort of said that what we have achieved in the last sort of 12 weeks is a bit like me asking them to say, look, I want you to change the wheels on the car, but you're not allowed to stop the car to do it. And we've managed to do that, and we've managed to do that successfully. But the other sort of aspect of sort of news and current affairs people is often we work really, really hard on a story and then we move on to something else. But at the moment, we're 13 weeks into this, and that the environment in which we're working in is just as challenging now as it was 13 weeks ago. But the story's getting harder to cover. But you could argue even more important to cover in a Welsh context because of the divergence between the nations. So sustaining this now, that's sort of what I would equate the ability to maintain what you're doing, just to stand still, is really, really hard work. And we mustn't lose sight of that, because ultimately, back to the people sort of side of things, is we've got to sustain this for the long term, really, and we've got to do this in a way that feels sustainable to people, so that it feels that they can continue to do this. So my reflections are that it's been a heck of a story to cover. I'm very proud of what we've done, but it's far from over, and there's still a lot more work to go.
And you've talked there, about your responsibility to your staff. You've talked about your responsibility to your audience. I mean, you are the most senior people within your organisations in Wales. Rhodri, what's it been like for you personally, knowing that your decisions are having such a huge impact on people's health, on people's finances, on their stability, their personal, their family lives? You're making daily decisions in an unprecedented environment.
Yeah, it focuses the mind, for sure. I think the thing that I've struck me most during this period is how the team around you steps up. I mean, you are trying to make decisions at speed. You're trying to make decisions with incomplete information. And what you find is that everybody around you is anticipating the challenges and developing the solutions before you even got to them. When I look back to that first week, we moved 240 journalists out of our offices and working from home within 48 hours. I didn't do that. That happened because the level of focus, the level of clarity of thinking in the newsroom and with our technology and operations teams was just extraordinary. We have 19 hours of radio being broadcast from home at the moment across Radio Wales and Radio Cymru. In normal times, that would have taken us months to do, and we did it in the space of 4 or 5 days. The leadership bit and the decision-making bit has been incredibly challenging, and without doubt the most challenging period of my professional life. But I have just been astonished by the resilience and the clarity and also the creativity. I mean, it's amazing how a crisis can drive innovation and creative thinking. I've really been blown away by the people that I work with and their commitment to what they do and their drive to get it right. That has meant extending, our radio output, extending our news services around the lunchtime and the news conferences. But it's just been, I knew they were a special lot, but I have never seen a team rise to a challenge like they've done this. And I'm really proud of what I've seen.
Diolch. Owen, ga I ofyn I chi yn sydyn, be chi'n meddwl yw'r penderfyniad mwyaf anodd I chi wedi gorfod ystod y cyfnod cloi yma?
Fi'n credu, os ti'n meddwl beth mae diwydiant teledu, mae fe gwmpas pobl, mae fe gwmpas cyfathrebu. A be mae Covid wedi wneud, wrth gwrs, yw gwahanu pobl a wneud yn anodd I gyfathrebu. Felly fi'n credu, fel mae Phil a Rhodri wedi dweud, mae'r blaenoriaeth I ni wedi bod yn rhywbeth I ddod at pobl at ei gilydd, ond hefyd I wneud siŵr bod pobl yn gallu cyfathrebu a cyfathrebu'n gloi. Mewn amser fel hyn, pan ydych chi'n newid pethau o ddydd I ddydd, mae fe'n teimlo am y llwaith bod ni wedi gwneud blwyddyn o waith mewn 3 mis. Y pethau pwysig yw wneud pethau'n gloi, wneud pethau'n glir, ond hefyd creu'r lle I chi gallu cynllunio hefyd. Felly I fi, fel wedodd Phil, y peth pwysicau ni oedd diogelwch a iechyd y gweithlu, ond hefyd y gwylwyr. Ond hefyd fi'n credu ble mae llwyddiant y trio ni wedi bod yw i'r person adre yn gwylio cynnwys ni'n ddigidol neu ar y sgrin neu be bynnag. be maen nhw wedi gweld yw rhyw fath o newid raddol mewn i rhyw fath o gyfundrefn newydd wrth bod y sector i gyd, a chwarae teg i bawb, wedi bod yn rhedeg nerth y trad nhw.
Yeah, mae'n gyfnod ansicr yn bendant i'r sector, a we'll come on to discuss what your plans are really for almost a recovery for the sector. But in the meantime, if I can just pose a few questions around news and current affairs specifically. We know lockdown has had a positive impact in that television viewing has skyrocketed. Is that simply because people have been stuck inside, or is there a genuine renewed appetite for TV and appreciation of the BBC that's been under pressure, if not attack, from the UK government? The First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, recently said that people outside Wales and in London appear to have woken up from a 20-year sleep on the devolution agenda. And it does seem network news have finally upped their game. Rhodri, have you had any influence on this? And why has it taken a global to remedy basic journalistic and editorial errors in London?
Well, there's a twice daily conversation between BBC Wales Newsroom and Network News. And there's no doubt in my mind this will be one of the defining moments in the development of devolution in Wales. I think the audience is understanding, the basic understanding that governance decisions in Wales are being taken in Cardiff Bay has never ever been clearer. And because it's centred on matters of personal safety and our personal welfare and health, it's operating at a profound level. So we've always seen data, and ever since the creation of the National Parliament, we've always seen data that's shown a level or lack of awareness of what is devolved, and often the very existence of a government here in Wales. I don't say that's changed overnight, but I think we will see a profound shift as a result of the coverage during this period. You know, when we brought the First Minister's press conferences onto television at 12:30 each day.
A bit slow to do that, sorry to interrupt, but were you a bit slow to respond and actually start broadcasting? Because the damage was already done, you could argue, in that people have been tuning in to the UK government daily briefings.
Well, I don't buy the binary nature of UK versus Wales. I think audiences want to see both the decisions Boris Johnson makes in relation to the economic recovery, in terms of policies on furlough. There are a whole range of competencies that the UK government has that are relevant in Wales. Our job is to make sure that coverage of the Welsh government and the coverage of the UK government are available to all our audiences. Would I have liked the press conferences to be broadcast earlier? Well, they were always broadcast on Radio Wales, but the delay in getting them onto BBC One Wales was because the first priority was to make sure we could sustain our daily news output. And even to today, even though the press conferences do well, they do nothing like the performance of Wales Today at 1:30 and the performance of 6:30. So, you know, we took a bit of flack for being slow. I think, you know, when you're managing these situations and when you're in the middle of a public health crisis, your first priority is to protect your news output. And it took us 2 to 3 weeks to get to a position where we were confident we could staff consistently live press conferences at 12:30 every day. So sure, with hindsight, I'd love to have done it faster on television, but these are difficult, complex decisions, and it certainly wasn't because anyone in BBC Wales was slow to understand that the press conferences were important national moments.
So if we accept that there is a renewed appreciation of the services that the news services you provide, what are you going to do to protect jobs in news and current affairs when facing financial challenges? And Phil, for ITV, this is really serious, with advertising revenue down, programme production largely frozen. News is not a money-making operation for ITV.
Or the BBC.
Or indeed most PSBs. Look, there's no doubt there's a challenging time. Of course it is. You know, we're a commercial company. Our revenues have been significantly impacted, no question. But you know, at the moment, we're not. You know, we recognise the value that our PSB creates, not just in Wales, but around the UK. And if anything, this crisis has helped, I hope, to really underscore that value to government and to policymakers. You know, as we went into this crisis, there was a big debate about the future of PSB and a big debate about the value that brings. I would hope that the actions of all the PSBs collectively, and yes, you know, there'll be questions to be asked about, but what we've all done during this time, but you know, it is one of the unique sort of aspects of UK life. It has played an absolutely fundamental role, I would argue, in this. And you know, at the moment, that is not, you know, it's not front and center of our thinking at the moment in terms of, okay, so how do we kind of cut jobs in news and current affairs to make up for the shortfall in revenues? Frankly, those sums would never add up anyway. I mean, really, from our perspective, you know, as a global producer, it's going to be about aspects of what lessons can we learn from countries right around the world in terms of restarting production, because that's the best way to start sort of, you know, re-employing the sort of the critical skills and people who are currently worried about their future. You know, let's get productions back on track, and government can help with that in terms of its decisions about what the environment it kind of creates around that. And you know, we play an absolutely fundamental role too in the not just the cultural life of Wales and the UK, but also in the economic life of the UK. And you know, we're a trusted advertising platform. And you know, we understandably, I mean, our advertisers are at the moment incredibly cautious, and they may well be very cautious in the future as well. They might want to kind of conserve cash, as indeed a lot of commercial companies are doing. So I think, again, there's probably things that we think the government could potentially do to make advertising give an incentive to companies to spend money on advertising in order to kickstart some areas of the economy and get people you know, back you know, and preserve jobs and so on and so forth. So you know, the debate around PSB, I hope, has been brought into sharp focus by this and the value it generates. Yes, you are absolutely right in your assessment that the PSB that we provide comes as a result of the advertising that we are able to place around our programs. And yes, that has been significantly challenged. And I just add one further thing into that, is that at the same time, you know, one of the threats to our structural threats to advertising per se, in terms of you know, the global streamers and the increased competition, all of that actually has those trends have been perhaps even solidified during this crisis and the interruptions to consumption. So I think you're absolutely right to sort of draw attention to the you know, the risks that all of the PSBs face. I think regardless of where their funding comes from, I would hope that the value that news and current affairs plays on all of our channels is there for all to see, especially policymakers. And I would hope that it helps to kind of focus the mind for the debate for the future about how we do retain PSB into the future, because the threats that threatened it before COVID have only been magnified by COVID.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Owen, then dod at chi yn mewn eiliad, but Rhodri, on the subject of you know, financial challenges for your organisations, the BBC at the moment continues to provide the licence fee to the over 75s, although that was meant to come to an end. So what's the implication of that financial outlay to the business?
So, I mean, if you take this year, we're about 125 million short of where we thought we would be. And that's a mix of things. That's a very steep downturn, obviously, in terms of commercial revenue, because BBC Studios, the in-house production arm, is obviously paused in terms of a lot of its production activity. It's because we've delayed the reintroduction of the over 75 licence fees, as you say, for a couple of months. So there's a real juggling act to do. And unusually for the BBC, it's a juggling act that we have to do in year. So, you know, I've been obviously talking to colleagues about that and to the staff, and we'll have more to say on that at the end of the month. But It's not something I'm bleating about publicly, because when I look at the impact on advertising revenue across the print media sector, when you look at the impact on the other public broadcasts, and Channel 4 even more exposed to fluctuations in ad revenue than ITV, there's a paradox that at a moment where maybe the country has woken up to the value of our public broadcasting system, there are some fundamental challenges that we're going to face if the economic recession that is much predicted over the next 2 or 3 years is going. Sorry?
Talking job losses.
Oh, in every public media organisation that goes into a period of recession is going to have to look at its cost base. I mean, for the print sector, and I don't want to be downbeat, but I do want to be straight. For the print sector, this is existential stuff. They've seen their ad revenue fall, in double-digit ad revenue falls year on year. Digital revenue is very, very hard to develop as a substitute stream. And their circulations during COVID period have fallen significantly. So it's fantastic that audiences have seen the value of public service media in all its forms over recent months. But we are going to face a fight to sustain the breadth and richness of what we currently have. And I just hope that COVID demonstrates why that's a fight worth having.
Okay, diolch. And in terms of the content that you've collectively provided during this period, ni'n gwybod mae'r cyhoedd yng Nghymru dal yn troi at y rwydwaith yn benna am ei newyddion ac am ei gwybodaeth. Ydy S4C yn neud digon i wasanaethu'r gynulleidfa gyda newyddion am y teryn cyfoes yn enwedig? Lle mae cyfres fel pawb a'i farn ar hyn o bryd?
Mae'n cwpl o bethau. Yn gyntaf, yn amlwg, mae newyddion S4C lan tua 10% dros y cyfnod Covid. A mae faint o bobl sy'n defnyddio'n gwasanaethau digidol neu lan tua 130%. Mae pobl wedi awchu am newyddion, mae pobl wedi awchu am y teryn cyfoes i drafod beth sy'n digwydd. Yn amlwg, dyn ni'n ddiolchgar iawn i BBC a ITV hefyd am y gwaith maen nhw wedi bod yn wneud. Mae'r ffaith bod ni'n gallu defnyddio beth mae'r BBC wedi bod yn wneud yn hollol bwysig i ni. Ond, beth mae S4C wedi goffa wneud hefyd ar ben yw sicrhau bod ni'n gallu rhoi rhywbeth o gwasanaeth ddyddiol, digidol o gwmpas Covid sydd yn mynd i ddenu pobl o bob gefndir mewn. Felly i ni, am y tro cyntaf erioed, dyn ni wedi cymryd ymlaen newyddiadurwyr i weithio ar newyddion o fewn S4C i gweithio efo pobl BBC. Ond hefyd, os weled i, mae'r byd yn y le, mae'r byd ar 4 bethau fel ni wedi symud o oriau 99 bethau fel ni, ond wedi symud mewn i'r oriau frig ei hunain. Achos dyna ble mae'r trafodaeth i gyd wedi bod o gwmpas beth sydd bod yn digwydd. Felly, un o'r pethau falle dyn ni yn mynd i wynebu amseroedd anodd yn credu, yn enwedig pan mae'r cyfnod ffurlo yn benni. Ond, allai ddim feddwl am achos neu amser dros y blynyddoedd diwethaf ble mae pobl actually gweld gwerth public service broadcasting yn Mryden a wedi gweld beth dyn ni'n gallu cynnig, mae pobl eraill ddim yn gallu cynnig, achos y pwynt nes i ddiwethaf, mae hwn yn diwydiad personol. Un o'r pethau dyn ni wedi bod yn trio wneud, mwy na dim, yw cyffwrdd efo'r gynulleidfa, efo'r strapline yma i chi, bod ni yna yn gwneud pethau fel Facebook Lives, yn gwneud ffyrdd o gysylltu efo'r gynulleidfa, dyn ni roed i'n wneud, ac ar raddfa dyn ni roed i'n wneud o blaen. Felly mae wedi bod yn amser wych i'r darlledwyr i gyd fi'n credu i ymgysylltu unwaith eto efo'r gynulleidfa i ddeall be maen nhw moyn ac i sicrhau bod ni'n gallu cyflenwi.
Okay, I'm going to stay with Owen for the time being as we open this up a bit more broadly and to look at, the indies, the independent producers in Wales and all the freelancers that make up our television community. Mae costau cynhyrchu Owen yn debygol o fynd yn uwch. Mae sgwant yn un peth. Sut mae'r sector fod cynllunio ar gyfer y misoedd a'r blynyddoedd nesaf heb gynllun comisiynu cadarn? Sut mae unigolion a chwmnioedd sydd yn dibynnu ar eich comisiynu chi yn mynd i allu gadw eu pennau nhw uwch y dŵr? Mae'n ddifrifol iawn.
Okay. Un o'r pethau, os ti'n gofyn gyda fach, y pethau pwysig dyn ni wedi gwneud, ond ni'n gallu gweld reit o dechrau, mae hwn i fod yn her enfawr y sector ei hun. Felly mi'n credu oedd S4C yn chwym o fewn terthnos o Covid dod mewn. Fe wnaethon ni cyhoeddi bod ni'n cael rownd comisiynu 3 million quid. A rheswm am wneud ni, ar ben 3 million quid, ar ben ni, wnaethon ni'n rhoi mewn y sector, achos ond ni moyn dangos bod ni, fel comisiynwr, yn rhoi arian mewn y sector a'r byr rhybydd yn trio cadw pethau i fynd. Felly, bod Covid wedi bod am bron i 2 mis, wel dros 2 mis nawr, dyn ni wedi gwneud 2 rownd comisiyno hyn, a wedi gwario rhwng 6 a 7 miliwn ar comisiynau newydd i trio wneud siŵr bod ni'n rhoi arian mewn yr economi, achos mewn achlysuron fel hyn, does dim byd yn helpu'r sector mwy na actually gallu comitio rhoi cash mewn i'r sector.
Ond beth yn y cynllunio hir dymor na?
Cynllunio hir dymor, dyn ni wedi creu panel i edrych, drama yw'r peth falle anoddau ni ddechrau ail seithi. A dyn ni wedi creu panel, mae Gethin Schofield yn cadeirio, efo amryw ar draws y sector, maen nhw wedi gweld tair gwaith. I ni ddechrau trafod, reit, this is the new normal. Sut dyn ni'n mynd i sicrhau bod ni'n gallu gwneud pethau nawr, a dechrau cynllunio beth allwn ni'n gwneud. Dyn ni'n gwybod yn barod, mae costau dramau, falle mynd i mynd lan rhwng 10 a 20%. Unwaith mae pobl yn gallu seithi eto, mae'n siwr gymaint o alw am cynnwys a mynd i fod, falle bydd y costau pryd ni yn mynd lan i bawb ar draws bobl ni'n gwneud. Ond wrth gwrs, dyw cyllid hyd yn oed y BBC a S4C, sydd yn y lle eitha ffodus bod ni'n cael block grant o'r Llywodraeth. Dyn ni'n gwybod mae costau ni'n mynd i fynd uwch a does dim cash o unrhyw arall i dalu am hyn. A mae hwnna cyn unrhyw trafodaethau beth i beth sy'n digwydd blwyddyn nesaf. Felly, yr unig beth allwn ni cyfiawnhau am nawr yw, dyn ni wedi bod yn chwym i ni sicrhau bod beth arian sydd efo ni yn cael ei bwysio mewn i'r sector. Dyn ni wedi bod yn gweithio'n glos iawn, dyn ni wedi cael 2 rownd comisiynu a 2 sesiwn sector dros Zoom, unwaith eto. Dwi wedi bod yn ffonio cynhyrchwyr ni yn bersonol i ofyn sut mae pethau'n mynd efo nhw. Ond fi'n credu dyna'r unig beth allwn ni wneud am nawr, yw cyfathrebu, yw ddeall beth sy'n mynd ymlaen yn y sector, ond hefyd sicrhau bod ni'n gallu ymateb yn chwym a chwistrellu gymaint o arian sydd ar gael i ni i gadw pethau i fynd. Ond fi yn becso, unwaith mae furlough yn bennu ym mis Hydref, beth sy'n mynd i ddigwydd hynny ymlaen.
Yeah, okay. I think it's important we get Rhodri's reaction to that point as well. How are you going to rescue, reinvigorate the freelance community and the production companies that need some sort of strategic commissioning plan from you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the key thing for all independent producers is that the broadcasters keep commissioning. I mean, in the end, this is a cash flow. This is about cash flow, and it's about maintaining the sort of wheels of development and commissioning. So, like Owen, we went straight into new commissioning rounds. We commissioned, I think, about 6 different independents almost immediately. No single broadcaster is going to maintain the whole sector. That's, we need to be realistic about what any one broadcaster can do. But I think the key thing was that the broadcasters didn't shut their, put down the drawbridge, or pull up the drawbridge, I should say, and stop that expenditure. And what we're doing is we're putting much more money into development. So Owen is absolutely right. The biggest challenge, I think, for all of us will be drama and comedy, the scripted sector. So what we want to make sure is we're ready to go. We would hope, a series like Pobl o Cwm and Casualty, both shooting in Wales, can get back pretty quickly, although in a slightly different format. But in terms of the sort of high-end television production that we know audiences want, we need to be ready to go when social distancing allows us to do that. The difficulty is when you say we need a strategic plan, is none of us know when that moment is, and so we are all dealing with a level of planning uncertainty that makes it difficult to give reassurance to partners about when normal business can resume. I think that's just the reality of where we are. But in the meantime, we keep commissioning.
What are you doing to support the freelance community?
Well, the freelance community primarily benefits from the BBC through the commissions that we give to the independent sector. So we don't contract individually. There are some freelancers who work in-house at the BBC, but the vast majority of freelancers who support the creative ambitions of the BBC do that in their work with the independent sector. So as I say, the key thing that we can do is to maintain those production relationships with indies and continue to keep those commissioning wheels turning.
Okay.
So just to jump in there as well, because I think Roger's absolutely right that no one broadcaster can sort of see itself or be seen to address the issues that you're raising. And I don't think the broadcasters do. And I think the broadcasters actually have come together quite effectively on a number of sort of aspects of this. So say, for example, around freelancers, if we cast our minds back, right at the very beginning, there was real doubt as to whether PAYE freelancers would be covered by the government sort of scheme. So we collectively sort of came together as broadcasters, formed a view, and then lobbied the government on that to good effect. I think another point I would sort of like make as well, I think we're all doing this, is that we press pause on an awful lot of productions rather than cancel.
Yeah.
That's quite an important point. We don't know when we can restart some of this because that's not in our control. But our desire is we are pausing whilst and we have put as many people as we can on furlough. And I think the other thing we do have influence as well. Well, we try to think that we have, and so we are lobbying ministers and government on these very issues. That the issue of drama and comedy and so on and so forth is constrained by the sort of the 2 meter rule to an extent. Now, as a global producer, we are working in countries that don't have the 2 meter rule, and they are able to restart productions, it would seem, a lot better. It also comes down to contact, test and trace. If you've got a system that means that you could potentially put a production on air, but then one person in that production has symptoms, and the whole production has to suspend for 14 days, that's hugely disruptive. Now in other countries, Italy, I think, is a really good example, and it's perhaps not for here, but for your members to kind of look at, well, what is happening in Italy? And in Italy, they've got a really kind of close contact trace, a testing system in place for the sector, so the sector is able to isolate somebody rather than the whole production having to sort of stop, et cetera, et cetera. So I think one of the things that we're all doing is we are bringing that knowledge before government, both in Wales and at the UK level, to make these points on behalf of the sector and on all the people that experience the uncertainty that they are.
So is the guidance from the Welsh Government clear enough to enable filming at the moment?
Well, to be honest, I mean, the way that we've gone about that work is that all the public service broadcasters have come together to develop a set of production guidelines that we've then taken to the different governments to say, look, this is the way we see production resuming across the different genre, and making sure that you don't have individual broadcasters negotiating separately. There's a unified view across PSB about how this can restart. But clearly, it's the distancing rules and to some extent insurance, because insurance is such a critical issue for the big productions. It's those 2 issues that need to be resolved before we can have real confidence about getting back to where we were.
So a production like Doctor Who, can you give us any indication when that might go back into production?
Well, it'll be down to social distancing. I mean, unless you're going to make a production like that, which at any point employs hundreds of people, freelance and staff, I don't believe can be made to the current standard in a socially distanced environment. So it depends when you think social distancing is going to come to an end. And it may be this is something we need to keep an eye on. It may well be that the rules on social distancing in Wales are different to those in England. And obviously, each production sectors of those 2 countries are going to need to respond to the specific rules and regulations that each of the governments introduces.
Owen?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, the problem for governments, in fairness to them, is that, they can never provide guidance for everyone on everything. So I think there's been quite a big thing for us to show some leadership around interpreting what governments have said over the past. I have a call every day on this. Every fortnight on a Friday, we're working out, the government have just said something, what does this mean? And then by Monday, we'll put some guidance out to the sector. So, we've been putting on our website virtually on a weekly basis about what we think is. But the second point is, Roger's absolutely right. Everyone has come together at the UK level to pull together guidelines about how to go back to work effectively. But there's still interpretation in there. So we're looking at Welsh producers. We're looking at some best practice that some of them have developed. And we're trying to make sure they share that. So we have a common understanding and a common platform, because I think by doing that, and secondly, to Phil's point about looking what's happening across Europe, where some countries have gone back to some more lapsed ways, I suppose, that we can actually find the best ways of doing things and get on with them. So I think it's an element for the broadcasters as well as the sector to show a bit of leadership, to say, look, this is our understanding, this is how it works. But it is complex. We've got a situation now, for example, where it might be easier to film a drama over the border than it is in Wales. And
we've seen resilience and innovation and creativity. I'm not just here to criticise and to ask difficult questions, but it strikes me that perhaps some of the creative solutions to make content during the pandemic, so for example, actors doing their own hair and makeup, or stars like Michael Sheen and David Tennant filming themselves at home, could these become standard cost-cutting exercises in the future? That could be hugely detrimental to freelancers and the television community in Wales. Rhodri, can I ask for your opinion on that?
Well, I enjoyed Cyswllt on S4C, but I think the big thing that S4C did there was that they did it quickly, because actually I think the appetite for Zoom-based dramas, we're probably just coming through that, because I think initially, because we were all in it together and everyone was experiencing COVID together, that the audience's expectation of what television looked like changed. I'm not sure it's going to change forever. And I do think, when you see the quality of drama that we need, the global quality of high-end drama, I don't think suddenly post-COVID the audience is going to accept some sort of inferior production standard. So, I watched the David Tennant one as well, and I enjoyed it, but there's only so much drama you can do through that form until the audience goes, well, can we get back to, to how it was? So, no, I wouldn't worry about the cost. I wouldn't worry about the broadcasters suddenly saying, oh, we can make things much more cheaply. I think it goes back to what we were talking about. The financial pressures on broadcasters is going to be the critical issue over the next, I don't want to be downbeat, but it is going to be a critical issue in the next 3 or 4 years. And that is the pressure that we're going to see right across the sector. But no, I don't think, personally, I don't believe the audience has suddenly changed its mind about what acceptable production standards are.
Okay, thank you. We could stay on each of these kind of subheadings for longer, but I'm conscious of the time. And I want to discuss office space. Many people, including your staff, I'm sure, will have been surprised at how quickly we've all managed to adapt to home working. So post-lockdown, will there be a need for employers to physically come to work, or will working from home be part of the new normal? And if the latter, what implications does this have? Phil, can I ask you to come in on this first?
Well, you say that we were surprised. I'm going to say something. I probably wasn't that surprised. I mean, in some ways, what we've done is we've been investing for the last sort of 10 years in sort of mobile technologies and ways of working, and yes, this has sort of turbocharged it, but the underpinnings are already there. We moved out of our ancestral home back in 2014. We employ no fewer people. We'll make no fewer programs, but instead of doing 175,000 square feet, we did it in 11. So in some ways, I think what we are doing now is a continuation of what we have been doing for the past sort of 5 years. I think that it means that we will have tried a few things that perhaps might have taken a lot longer for us to trial. So we've got a whole bunch of new data that's there, but maybe you could speak to my team. I mean, we held an away day back in February. It seems like a lifetime ago, but one of the kind of the key aspects of that day was around something we were calling smart working, is how do you break up the day so it isn't all driven by the office and the office infrastructure and so on and so forth. I do genuinely think that building a PSB is now at an end. I think that's at an end. I much prefer to spend money on people than buildings, and I think this has been a really enabling sort of force for a lot of our team, who understandably, when when sort of confronted with new technologies, have genuine concerns. And now what this has done is enabled them to sort of see that actually, oh, do you know what? We can do an awful lot of this stuff. That said, there are sort of two things I think that we have to kind of keep an eye on. First thing is it's a creative business. This is all about creativity, and maintaining creativity in this environment is clearly harder. It is much more challenging. So I think probably what we're going to sort of find is that people are going to find a sweet spot, and it will depend on the role, and it'll depend on the person, and so on and so forth. And I think what we will end up is a greater mix, a greater proportion of people. We're already seeing this, but a greater proportion of people who are splitting their time and activities between what they do at home and what they do in the workplace, and what they use the workplace for. And I think that's actually quite exciting, because, you know, when I sort of like think about, you know, expansion and so on and so forth, you know, one of the constraints was always space. It was always the building, etc. You know, how many edit suites can we fit in there, etc., etc., etc. Now, because of the way that we're working, you think that's less now of a constraint. There are new constraints that get put in place, but it's less about physical space. So I think it's quite exciting. And you know, as we've been alluding to, you know, the reality is it's probably going to be less money around for some years to come. So again, if we're spending less of that money on buildings and we can invest more of it in people, then that's got to be positive for everybody too.
Rhodri, the move to Central Square, a defining moment in your career. Are you personally disappointed with the current situation and the slowing of those plans? I mean, paint us a picture of what it's likely to look like.
Well, you know, you can't predict a pandemic, so you know you have to. We obviously paused the program, and we've just restarted it. So we're aiming now to complete the moves by the end of September. But when I say complete the moves, what I mean is that we're actually broadcasting from the centre. For the vast majority of our staff, they will continue to work from home during this period. So it's more of a technical move than it is about large amounts of staff moving from one building to the other, because there's virtually no one in Llandaff either at the moment. I think to the broader point, I do think that most of my colleagues no longer believe that being creative requires them to be ever present in the office. I think that there's a real confidence that the tools and technologies are there or will be there to support more remote working. But I don't believe for 1 second you won't need to bring teams together. I think there are many things in the creative process that require teams to come together. And I do think that coming together creates a sense of shared identity and purpose. But we're already having a think about how Central Square works. I mean, my guess is the levels of remote working after this crisis compared to before this crisis will be off the scale. I think most will want to blend their week. They'll want a mix of both. And the quality of the experience when you come to the office will be incredibly important for colleagues. Because if you have the choice of working from home, that space when you come into work needs to work. It needs to support collaboration. It needs to support teamwork. The thing that makes me smile is that when we first told staff about the move to Central Square, there was some disquiet that we were halving the size of the building compared to Llandaff, and we were also halving the number of desks that we had compared to what we have in Llandaff. I don't think a tightness of space will be the issue now. I think that we will have the luxury, if you like, of thinking about how we reconfigure that space and potentially allow other partners to join us, because we only spec'd it for BBC staff and some S4C staff. It's potentially now a space where we can think about whether other partners would want to join us too.
Okay, very quickly so we can move on. But Owen, os gormod o arian wedi cael I gwario ar swyddfeydd?
Diwedd y geiniog, eithon ni'n gweithio'n hyblyg blwyddyn yn ôl, hanes I pawb gatre cyn I Covid lockdown ddod mewn, ac os ydyn ni'n gallu weld beth yn digwydd. Os mae'r rhai bod pawb wedi gweld, nath neb cynhyrfu about i'r ffaith bod garden centres ar agor. Mae pawb yn edrych mlaen i'r tafandau agor. We are a social breed. A mae hwn yn rhywbeth ble, mae lot o'r gwaith yn gallu digwydd o adre, mae lot o'r gwaith yn gallu gweithio dros Zoom neu beth bynnag. Ond i'r proses creadigol ambell waith mae'n gallu cael pobl at ei gilydd. Felly I ni, mae fe mwy amdan right, sut allan ni gadw hwn mynd, sut allan ni gadw'r stwff ni wedi dysgu a embedio hwnna, ond hefyd sut mae rhaid ni ail-pwrpasu'r adeiladau sydd efo ni i'r fath o gofod fydd angen i ni ddod pobl at ei gilydd yn saff i drafod syniadau yn y dyfodol.
Okay, before we open up, we've had some questions in, so I just got a couple more things I'd like to touch on, and I do want to talk about Black Lives Matter. How diverse are your organisations, and what are you doing to address this? And bearing in mind, I'm currently in conversation with 3 white men. Phil, what's the strategy? Oh, you're muted. I think your mute button is still on, Phil.
That'll be it. You've got to have somebody on the Zoom that fails to unmute on time. So, look, I mean, just because, yeah, I suppose my kind of perspective on this is that just because I look like I do doesn't mean my organisation has to. And I don't think there's an easy answer to this, and more to the point, there probably isn't a quick answer to this. But I think if you keep doing something for long enough, you will make a difference. So you know, when I took over at ITV Wales sort of 10 years ago, it was probably true to say that certainly amongst the decision makers, actually most decision makers did in fact look like me. Now they don't. You know, more than half are women, representation from LGBT and so on. You know, I don't think it's all about one aspect of diversity. I think we've got to always look at diversity in the round in all the areas that we're underrepresenting. You know, are we doing enough? I suppose in many ways, I think that we are doing as much as we can. Is that changing things as fast as we would want to? No, I'll be honest about that. It isn't. But if certainly from my perspective, if we maintain a focus on the things that we know will make a difference, then we will get there. So you know, we measure what we do. So you know, we look at our news program each night and ask ourselves, so how representative is that of the audience that we serve? You know, as a public service broadcaster, you know, our output and our workforce should reflect the society it is speaking to, and so we measure that, and so we ask ourselves, so where is the gap? So editorially, we can quote do something about that. We can raise awareness. We can know where it is that we haven't got the contacts, and so on and so forth. We can do things that sort of reach out into communities that we're not speaking to. So you know, we have a diversity panel that advises us on our output and also gives us links into communities that perhaps we didn't have sort of 5 years ago. I mean, we won an award last year from the Welsh Government for our apprenticeship scheme, which one of its main focuses was to attract people and bring people into our organisation who were perhaps unrepresented in the past. So we're doing lots, but is it happening fast enough for some? I suspect it probably isn't, and so we maintain a relentless focus on it. And in terms of the Black Lives Matter in particular, I would hope that what it's done is really empowered the people, certainly within my organisation, who are of colour, to know that their voice matters and that their voice will be heard. I think it's created the room and the space within our output for stories and reflections and experiences that 2 or 3 weeks ago our programme didn't have. So you know, lots to be taken from that. But no, you know, it is something that's very, very high up our agenda. I think something like Black Lives Matter serves to kind of create an additional focus on that, but it was already very, very high up our agenda that we need to make a difference on this. We are making a difference, and we need to move as fast as we can.
Owen, should chi'n teimlo ar hyn o bryd yn gwylio'r newyddion, gweld y protestiadau ac yna adroddiadau o ardaloedd fel Pen y Groes dros y penwythnos? Ydych chi'n gwneud digon be chi'n gwneud yn S4C i geisio ddod fel a hyn?
But dwi'n mateb eitha gloed o fi, nagyn, i fod yn onest. Pan o'n i'n gweithio yn y Llywodraeth gynt, un o'r pethau o'n i mwy o balch amdano oedd o faint o bobl oedd yn ceisio am apprenticesiaethau efo'r Llywodraeth o neb o gefndiroedd llifrifol i bron 20% cyn i fi adael. A fi moyn neud rhywun peth efo S4C. Ges i trafodaeth efo'r tîm bore yma, dwi'n trafod efo bwrdd, Mae eisiau arweiniaeth clir yna ni. Dwi'n proud iawn o beth mae Hans wedi wneud. Dwi'n proud iawn beth mae'r channel wedi wneud dros y blynyddoedd. Ond fi'n credu beth mae Black Lives Matter wedi wneud, mae fe'n rhoi staging post i ni ystod nôl a meddwl, hang on, ydyn ni actually wedi wneud digon fan hyn. Dyn ni'n gwneud pethau wych o gwmpas faint o menywod sydd yna gweithio nawr, ond mae dal camau ni'n wneud. Felly, watch this space, fydd penderfyniadau o gwmpas hyn yn dymas ar wythnosau nesaf.
Okay, and last point on this, if I can quote Jane Martinson from The Guardian, Rhodri, why did anyone really believe anyone other than Tim Davies be the next Director General of the BBC? The very British corporation was always likely to pick the privately educated white man who went to Oxbridge. How will the new DG appointment affect Wales? And what's your feeling on, are you doing enough to address diversity in BBC Wales?
So firstly, I think that's very unfair on Tim. Tim was the first member of his family ever to go to university, and he was privately educated because he had 100% scholarship that he secured prior to joining the school. So the notion that Tim benefited from inherited privilege is nonsense. The second point on diversity is that, and I would echo what Phil said, we've got there are elements that are strong. So 45% of our senior leaders are female. I've committed to getting to 50-50 representation on my senior board by next year, and we'll do that. We are ahead of the UK averages on LGBT representation in our staff. We're ahead of the UK averages on disability within our staff. The critical areas that I think are priorities are BAME, Black and Asian, and socio-economic diversity. And that's why I think the Tim story is important, because that is an example of social mobility. And like Phil, it's about doing a lot of things. There isn't a single sort of magic bullet here that solves it. We've invested a lot in trainees and apprenticeships. We've invested an awful lot in outreach over the last 3 years. The one area that we're about to look at is role modelling. If I speak to young Black and Asian members of staff, what they will say bluntly to me is, who can I see in this organisation at senior levels that gives me the belief that I could develop and progress in this organisation? So in the next couple of months, we've appointed one internal candidate who will be joining the senior board in the next couple of months, and we'll be appointing one external advisor to our main board. So this is not a panel, this is full members of our main board, so that we'll have 2 representatives from BAME background or from different socio-economic backgrounds on the main board. And some have said, well, that's tokenistic. It may, that's a fair accusation that if people want to make, but we can't continue where we are. We haven't made the progress at senior leadership levels that I would like to have seen. And I want an external insight around that main board to help drive our decision making. And right now, I think that's the best route forward for us.
Okay, diolch, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn to some questions. I've got the chat bar open, and I've got some questions coming through here as well. First question, perhaps stay with you, Rhodri. Have broadcasters not made savings during this crisis? So not sending teams to the Euros, the Olympics, lots of programmes not being made. How can you balance that against the financial problems the sector's in?
It's a really good question. So yeah, there are very significant savings. But the 125 million sort of hole in the funding this year is a net number. So once you take those savings into account and put them against the losses of revenue, you end up at 125 million as the net deficit. So clearly, us not sending significant teams to the Euros, the Eisteddfod, it not happening. There are some things that aren't happening that avoid costs being spent. But there are plenty of other things, studios being a big example, where you lose potentially tens of millions of pounds in commercial dividends. And clearly, if you say to every household over 75 they don't need a license fee for an additional 2 or 3 months, that leaves a very, very significant hole. So yeah, unfortunately, the savings don't outweigh the downsides.
Okay, we've had a few questions in from some audience members who I know, because I happen to lecture some of them. So if I can try and combine some of these points. Owen, gai ofyn i chi, y cwestiwn di dod mewn, mae'n anochel bydd gofyn i chi beneithiad neu toriadau yn y misoedd nesaf yn sgil y pandemig. I minnau sy'n gobeithio mentro i'r maes yn y dyfodol agos, os peryg y bydd llai o swyddi a chyfleoedd i newyddadurwyr ifanc. A mae'n y gwestiwn arall ti dod ynglyn â cynlluniau megis y cynllun hyfforddi newyddadurwyr. Be allwch chi ddweud wrth pobl ifanc sydd yn graddio neu'n disgwyl gwneud cwrs fel ein EMA darlledu ni yn y dydd?
Mae'n y gwbl o bethau. Yn gyntaf, dyn ni'n wario bron i 70 miliwn y flwyddyn. Ond dyn ni'n gwneud stwff yn hunain. Am y tro gyntaf erioed o fewn y misoedd diwetha, dyn ni wedi cymryd ymlaen 2 gyn-myfyrwyr o Jonec. I weithio i ni ar gwaith Covid yn newyddaduriaeth o gwmpas ni. Dyn ni wedi gweithio efo Phil yn ITV i cael pobl mewn o dan hyfforddiant fyna. Mi fydd yn anoddach yn y sector fi'n ame, yn y misoedd i ddod, does dim ffordd o sugarcoatio hwnna sy'n credu. Ond bys unrhyw darlledwr neu unrhyw arweinydd neu unrhyw un sy'n rhedeg cwmni sy'n sector neu bynnag, unrhyw un sy'n meddwl mae'r ffordd ymlaen yw i beidio buddsoddi mewn pobl ifanc, fe'n credu bod yn anghywir. A felly un o'r heriau fydd i ni yw bod ni'n gallu creu system, falle bydd llai o adnoddau o gwmpas y lle, ond mae'n rhaid ni sicrhau bod rhyw fath o rhaglenni i signo pobl trwy'r system i geisio wneud siŵr bod nhw'n cael y fath o hyfforddiant sydd angen, a'r fath o opportunities fydd gael hefyd. Ond mi fydd yn anodd, does dim ymheuaeth am ni.
Beth am brofiad gwaith? Rhodri, the question around work placements obviously been cancelled due to COVID. Do you think it's important to reinstate these in order to nurture and identify new talent?
Wel, fyswn ni'n gweud yr un peth ag Owen, mae unrhyw ddarlledwr sy'n ei dorri nôl ar ddatblygiad y genhedlaeth nesaf o dalent. Maen nhw'n mynd i fod ar ei golled. Felly mae'n bwysig ofnadw o ran cyfleoedd profiad gwaith, unwaith bod o'n saff i wneud, bod ni'n gallu ail cychwyn ar y cyfleoedd yna. Ond mae o'n anodd, dyn ni'n nghanol cwrs o ran traineeships ar hyn o bryd y 10 o newyddiadurwyr, a mae Covid yn amlwg wedi ymharu ar y broses addysgiadol a'i cyfleoedd nhw i jyst i gwrdd â staff eraill. Achos wrth gwrs, os ych chi'n nabod pawb, mae'n hawdd i weithio adre. Ond os ych chi'n newydd i'r diwydiant a dyw'r rhwydwaith ddim gynnoch chi, mae'n bwysig ofnadw gallu dod ynghyd a chreu rhwydweithau newydd. Felly, oes, yn sicr, mae rhaid i ni ail ddechrau'r gwaith yma, ond mae eisiau ni bod yn gwbl saff, bod o'n ddiogel iddyn nhw ddod nôl cyn allan ni ail gychwyn.
OK, diolch yn fawr. There are more questions. If we can answer a couple really quickly then. Does COVID-19 offer broadcasters the opportunity to cover more live events, sport and entertainment? Anyone want to jump in there?
Well, I never thought I'd be covering Super Rugby from New Zealand. But we are. I think there's potentially a surfeit of sport in the autumn. We're going to see struggle with drama, but we're going to see a lot of sport coming through, I think. Whether that's going to carry on, long term, I don't know. But it'll be different. We're talking about things like, I'm seeing stand-up comedians doing drive-in. There are different ways of doing things. And this is what I was speaking about, the new normal. We'll just find different ways of doing stuff. But, sport is a massive thing for all of us. So I think everyone's quite looking forward to doing more live events and more sport in the coming months. Okay, quick fire. I'm going to ask this to each of you before saying our goodbyes. What's been your favourite piece of lockdown broadcasting, not just from your own network? Can I ask Phil, what's been your favourite piece of lockdown broadcasting?
I probably won't use a favourite, but a piece that I certainly admired was a film that Newsnight commissioned that went back to the hospital right at the centre of the Italian epidemic. And it was just such a powerful piece of access, and it just gave the room for the testimony. It was just an absorbing piece of journalism. I sort of stumbled across it. I didn't choose to watch it. It just happened to be on, and I was still there sort of 35 minutes later. And that's always a good example of something that is really well thought out and well conceived. It was really, really amazing. It's brilliant.
Rhodri?
If I'm close to home, I'd say a documentary that was produced by Folk Films in the Royal Gwent, Critical, which looked at the first 8 weeks of the coronavirus crisis and was largely self-shot by the staff of the hospital. I will also say I think Newsnight has been on extraordinary form.
Yeah. Owen Evans, i gloi?
I thought Eisteddfod T was brilliant from us, so ingenious, great. The one thing in sport we haven't mentioned, of course, is we've got awful used to our teams winning over the past 3 months. I haven't seen any footage of any Welsh teams losing for ages. So that might be a bit of a challenge for the future.
Well, diolch yn fawr iawn. All that's left for me to say is to thank our panellists. Diolch yn fawr iawn i'r tri ohonoch chi. Diolch i'n cynulleidfa. Thank you to our audience, and I'm sorry for the questions that I didn't have time to put to the panellists. Diolch i Ian Cottrell, sydd wedi bod yn neud y cyfieithu ar y pryd, and thank you to RTS. Diolch yn fawr i RTS Cymru. I've enjoyed the hours gone really quickly, so thanks again. Stay safe. Take care, a diolch yn fawr iawn.